Hello, Buffs fans. Sports Mag.
I'm Christine Lambert, and this new face next to me today is Jake Shapiro.
Thanks for the introduction, Christine, but I'm not that new. You just have never seen me behind the desk before.
That's true, Jake. But anyways, we have an awesome show planned for today. Lots of basketball, tennis, and more, so let's get started.
This week of the home stretch for CU men's basketball is upon us. Head coach Tad Boyle has been eyeing these upcoming Pac-12 games since the men's season began. Luckily for the Buffs, 5 of their 7 games will be on their home turf, or should I say court. The next matchup will be against Washington State at 6:30 p.m. at the Coors Event Center. Last time the men faced off against the Cougars, CU dropped a heartbreaker in overtime. The men's are aiming to start a new streak, and as long as they avoid the losing column in the next few games, things will stay looking up. As for the Buff stars, Xavier Johnson and Wesley Gordon, who were benched during the Cal game, hopes are high that they'll learn from their mistakes.
Last Sunday, the team went to play the University of California Bears. Unfortunately, they were short senior Johnson and Gordon. With that as a contributing factor, the Buffs fell to the Bears, with the final score being 77-66. After the Buffs trailed by 23 points in the first half, they came back to cut the lead of the Bears to 5 points with 5 minutes left in the play. But this just wasn't enough. This loss ended the 3-game win streak the Buffs accumulated, dropping Colorado to 13-11 overall and 3-8 in the Pac-12.
Colorado came away with a win on Thursday night despite the absence of Johnson and Gordon. Fellow upperclassmen Derek White and George King stepped up, leading the Buffaloes to an 81-66 win. Washington star and potential #1 overall pick in the NBA draft Markelle Fultz sat out with a knee injury, and the Huskies never really stood a chance. The Buffaloes took a lead early and never looked back. Stellar play from Bryce Peters energized Colorado, and his roommate Lucas Seward looked good in his role as a starter. It is of note that Washington's Malik Dime, who is injured, slapped 2 Colorado students that were sitting in the student section during the game. No charges will be filed.
Derek White, Lucas Seward, and George King addressed the media following CU's impressive win against the Washington Huskies. Here's what they had to say.
Year long that the strength of this team is the balance and the depth. So when someone goes down, people are not playing. We got people like Lucas stepping up, Bryce stepped up huge, Tommy was huge. Top to bottom, we were great. So we just got to keep with that mentality that the strength of this team is a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our defense picked up these last 5 games, and that's something that we can build on going forward, and even more now that we have, X and West coming back. So yeah, I mean, future's bright for us.
The women's basketball team took on the Washington teams last weekend and ended up with a split. The win came a week ago on Friday against Washington State as CU topped the Cougars 70-58. The team had a terrific fourth quarter led by Kennedy Leonard, which saw them erase a 14-point deficit as they entered the final frame. It was the largest comeback for the Buffs since 2014. Ariana Freeman and Haley Smith combined to tally a third of CU's total points in the contest.
Unfortunately, there was also a loss last weekend for the women's basketball team. They put up a good fight against Washington, but ended up falling short by 4 points with a final score of 79-75. 3 CU players scored in the double digits. Kennedy Leonard and Alexis Robinson each scored 19 points, and Mackenzie Ellis had 18. This, though, was nothing compared to the 28, 20, 14, and 11 put up by the top scorers for the Huskies. The 28 points were in fact put on the board by the nation's lead scorer, Washington's Kelsey Plum.
Despite the team's loss to the 10th-ranked Huskies, head coach J.R. Payne expressed immense pride in her team's performance after the game. Here's what she had to say.
I thought by our team, we played one of the best teams in the country, and we played against one of the best, the best scorer in the country and the best rebounder in the country. And we went toe-to-toe with them. So I am just really proud of the way that we played and the heart that we played with. And again, we're a team that just never backs down, and we never give in, and we continue to fight. That seems so, what's the word? Yeah, but it's true. And so that's a team that you love to coach. You know, I would rather have a team that's going to go out and compete every single night, you know, than have a group of just all-stars that are, you know, not really going to compete. And so I'm proud of us for that tonight.
The women's basketball team's next game are this weekend, happening in the Bay Area. CU will face off against number 8 Stanford tonight and then take on Cal Sunday. Last time the Buffs met with these two teams, they fell to both. Associate head coach Toriano Towns says that if the team wants to win this year, they need to focus on keeping their energy level high. Stanford's head coach Tara Vanderveer just won her 1,000th game. Towns is hoping the Buffs learn from last weekend's games and that they continue to be competitive in California.
Speaking of women's basketball, our trivia question this week is a nod to the team's spectacular home victory over Washington State last Friday. So, everybody get your smartphones ready, maybe to call your friend who happens to be a women's basketball historian, but obviously not to enter our question into a search bar. With that said, here's your trivia question this week. Before last Friday's win, when was the last time the women's basketball team overcame a deficit of 14 or more points?
We are taking a little break for now, but stay tuned for some news about the football team.
Also, coming up soon, CU Sports Mag's Jordan Siemens is getting the thoughts of some students around campus on the topic of sports. In particular, she's going to be asking the tough questions about attendance at games.
These words are all around campus, the Norland Quad, the Rec Center, the UMC, over by Farron Field, even in some res halls.
It's not just these words being repeated everywhere, it's really a description of the community and the people that you're going to be encountering in the next 4 years.
The creed is a value for the CU community. As a member of the Boulder community and the University of Colorado Boulder, I agree to
act with honor, integrity, and accountability in my interactions with students, faculty, staff, and neighbors,
to respect the rights of others and accept our differences, contribute to the greater good of this community.
I will strive to uphold these principles in all aspects of my collegiate experience and beyond.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you? You know you do. Yeah, but I don't know where to start. That's why we're here. We're free, handsome.
Oh, I think we're breathtaking.
And here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Biology homework, G. I got this. Is that Bran? Colleges love extracurricular activities.
Chess really isn't my thing.
I got this. Doesn't matter. Go ahead. Picking a college, man. You and us. We go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos.
Fire and ice.
Those don't really go together.
Go to GetSchooled.com for more info.
Welcome back, Sports Mag fans. Before we get up to the updates on CU Sports, we have an awesome segment out in the field that we like to call Man on the Street. It's time now for our Sports Mag reporter, Jordan Siemens, to get to those tough questions around campus. Take it away, Jordan.
Hey Buff fans, happy Friday. I'm Jordan Siemens and we are here at the UMC to do your Man on the Street. The question today, do you go to CU basketball games? And why or why not? Let's find out. Do you go to CU basketball games?
I do not.
And why?
Well, first, they're not really well advertised.
Well, my time constraints with school don't allow me to go out during those nights, but I still have the tickets. So I can still go whenever I want if the opportunity presents itself, but unfortunately I don't attend.
I do not go to CU basketball games.
Why not?
Well, I don't really like walking all the way to the Coors Event Center, and our team isn't the best.
I went to the last nights, but that was my first one, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, last night, I think attendance was a little low. Were you surprised?
Yeah,
or?
There's a lot of empty seats, which is weird. I feel like we should just be filling up the stadium to the max every single game.
They're also, the crowds around the event center and just sort of like the chaos that the traffic creates kind of like doesn't really incentivize me to head over there.
If it's not a guaranteed win, then obviously people aren't going to go.
What would make you prioritize basketball?
Just like free time with school. Like if I had no homework or if I didn't have my class at that like right before, I probably would go.
I don't see it too much. I mean, I get like emails about it, but I don't really see it anywhere. So if we play bigger teams and start doing better, then I think attendance will go up.
Well, Buff fans, it looks like you're making Tad Boyle sad boil with your low attendance at CU basketball games, but it's okay. You're trying. Until next week, I'm Jordan Siemens with your Sports Mag Man on the Street. Jake, back to you.
Thanks, Jordan. If you're interested in Cougars, they'll be on campus Sunday. Although signing day was February 1st, head coach Mike McIntyre announced on February 4th that CU nabbed one more commit. Defensive end Terrence Lang signed his national letter of intent to attend CU and play football for the Buffaloes. He spurred USC at the last second after sources tell us that the Trojans plan to gray-shirt the three-star prospect. Lang, a 6'7", 265-pound signee from Pomona, California, became the 28th signee of the class for CU.
All eyes on campus are focused on the ongoing situation involving former University of Colorado defensive backs coach Joe Tumpkin. Last week, we informed you that Tumpkin had been asked to step down from his position at the university as he faced multiple charges stemming from his allegedly abusive relationship with an ex-girlfriend. Since then, Sports Illustrated released an eye-opening story coming from the perspective of the victim, who shared that multiple university administrators were aware of the situation well before action was taken against the former coach. The story prompted CU to release a statement from Chancellor DeStefano, who, among other things, apologized to the victim and admitted he and others failed to handle the situation perfectly. Tumpkin made his first appearance in court on Thursday and is due for a preliminary hearing on March 23rd.
Evan White, a safety in Colorado's secondary, missed all of last season following a violation of team rules. He was a sophomore at the time of his suspension and has been accepted back onto the team for 2017. He has earned a second chance. White says, quote, "Not everyone gets a second chance." White is ready to jump back and embrace this opportunity after missing so much time. He now looks forward to off-season conditioning, even with a smile, as opposed to his teammates, who may dread it. White is thrilled to be back with a new outlook on opportunities with Colorado, and with so many departing members of their secondary, he may just make an impact next year.
Now it's time to take a little break from us lovely anchors up here on the desk because our very own Bobby Galen is here in the studio. He's here to give us a little more detail about those new football recruits. So we'll toss it right over to Mr. Galen now for this week's edition of Buff Banter. Take it away, Bobbers.
Hey Buff fans, my name is Bobby Galen and I'm excited for this week's edition of Buff Banter. Now I know you've heard all about the new recruits that Colorado football has signed in the offseason. In total, the Buffs snagged 28 new commits. Now, the number of the new signees has been the big story, but do you know about the names behind the numbers? It's true that the rise was definitely a contributing factor to attracting new recruits, and I want to tell you about some of the top players CU will have on their roster next season. First up, we have local kid Jake Moretti from Pomona High School in Arvada. The four-star offensive lineman has been ranked number 1 in the state of Colorado. He originally committed to Ohio State in July of 2015, but announced his decommitment from the Buckeyes via Twitter back in November. Next up, we have K.D. Nixon from DeSoto, Texas. The four-star wide receiver had offers from Cal, ASU, and Louisville, to name a few. With Nixon passing on these top schools and committing to Colorado, he will most likely get more playing time, and he'll be able to showcase his skills in front of the home crowd. Nixon says he wanted to take his time with his decision and put himself in the best situation possible. Next up on the list, we have three-star offensive tackle Grant Pauly from Denton, Texas. Pauly was named a 2017 Under Armour All-American player and ranks 32nd in the nation at his position. CU coach Darren Cheverini played a huge role in recruiting Pauly, and even after receiving an offer from his hometown school of the University of Texas, he kept his word and stuck with Colorado. Following Pauly's commitment, Coach Cheverini tweeted, "Staying true to your word shows character. The future of Colorado football is very bright." Last up, we have another local kid in 3-star defensive end John Van Diest from Cherry Creek High School. He ranked 3rd overall in the state of Colorado and was also named an Under Armour All-American player. He committed to CU in February of last year and tweeted that he's excited for this opportunity to play as a Buff. Well, those are just a few of the top names in the CU recruiting class of 2017. I know you're just as excited as I am for this football season to start back up again. I'm Bobby Galen, and this has been another edition of Buff Banner. Back to you guys at the desk.
The CU women's lacrosse team will open its 4th season this coming Sunday at their home field over in Kittredge Village. They face off at 12 p.m. against the 9th-ranked Northwestern Wildcats. The Buffs are currently predicted to finish 3rd in the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation and are expected to face a hefty load of ranked teams this season. Chances for CU's continued improvement are high, with 5 All-MPSF performers, including Darby Kernan and Sarah Brown from last season, returning. Kernan led the team last year in scoring with 36 goals overall. The Buffs have a strong team of senior leaders, with 15 out of their 38 women coming on their roster being in their final season at CU. Also, you won't want to miss this one because Ralphie will make a special appearance at the game on Sunday.
It is now time for us to bestow a great honor on 2 of our student athletes. It's our Athletes of the Week. This week's athletes are Derek White from the men's basketball team and Jesse Norrie of the ski team. White was one of the best players on the court in the basketball team's loss to Cal on Sunday. He posted 25 points in 34 minutes played, stepping up in the absence of Xavier Johnson and Wesley Gordon. Jesse Norrie skied 2nd in the mixed gender relay. As we mentioned earlier, she was the 2nd leg of the race and was able to pull the Buffs ahead of Utah and ultimately won the race. We wish these 2 outstanding athletes the best of luck with the rest of their respective seasons.
Another little break is coming up right now, but do not go away. We have way more show for you and more great updates coming towards you.
We know you want to hear about the 2 T's, track and field and tennis. Catch us talking about those 2 coming up.
Bye.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore. And frustration, a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy, and giving up impossible.
And then we're gonna turn the lights and everybody look up.
I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought.
What's your reaction gonna be? Yeah, exactly.
And unconventional methods
Okay, what else?
common.
This is their world. There's nothing.
And then they die. Go ahead, go, go, go.
I'm a teacher. I make more.
The University of Colorado's Nordic teams are in Anchorage, Alaska this week for the UAA and Seawolf Invitationals, being hosted by the University of Alaska Anchorage. CU enters the final week of competition in 4th place in the Seawolf Invite and 5th in the UAA Invite. The races will conclude on Sunday. The early results have seen CU take the top spot in the mixed gender relay and 3rd in freestyle sprints. The mixed gender relay was the first time CU participated in that event in 30 years.
The Nordic ski team added yet another victory to their long historical list of achievements. The Seawolf Invite concluded Wednesday in Alaska, and the final event was the mixed gender relay. The relay event consisted of teams of 4, 2 men and 2 women, with each racer competing a 5-kilometer race. Mads Strom opened the race for the Buffs and handed off to Jesse Norrie, who took the Buffs from being slightly behind to winning. Peter Reisted skied third, and Christina Rollinson was the anchor for the Buffs.
Freshman alpine skier David Ketterer has won a 3rd straight slalom race in a Norham Cup event, doing so last Friday at Vail Mountain. Ketterer won Friday's race with a 2-run time of 1 minute and 57 seconds. It was just 4/100ths of a second ahead of Canada's Trevor Phillip. With the 3 wins in the Norham Cup events, Ketterer maintains a lead in the slalom standings with 360 points. He has a huge 120-point lead over Hig Roberts.
The CU Boulder track and field team finished up the 3-day CU Open last Sunday. On the Schuyler Family Track in the CU Indoor Practice Facility, the Buffs collected multiple event titles. One of those titles was the women's 800-meter, with CU's Sage Herta coming in on the top spot. Teammates Alyssa Mann and Danny Jones also ended in the top 5. Trenton Stringari also added an event title as he came in first for the men's 400-meter. Also ending in the top 10 was teammate Isaiah Kaiser, taking 7th.
Colorado track and field standout Andrew Gazzoni finally had the chance to enjoy the home field advantage for an indoor heptathlon on this week. The CU junior made the most of the opportunity, outdueling teammate Isaiah Oliver for the Colorado Open title, last Friday clinching the win with a victory in the day's final event, the 1,000-meter run. Gazzoni finished the 2-day, 7-event competition with 5,223 points, while Oliver, a starting cornerback for Colorado on the football team, was second with 5,113 points. The pair definitely made the most of CU's sparkling indoor new facilities, with Oliver breaking a pair of CU heptathlon events. Those records were the 60-meter dash, the 60-meter hurdles, while Gazzoni established a school best in the heptathlon's pole vault.
The track and field team had 7 athletes earn USTF CCCA academic honors. Senior Ben Sarl, a double major in computer science and engineering physics, earned his 4th all-academic team spot. He has an impressive cumulative GPA of 3.967. Redshirt freshman Joe Klecker was the only other male to earn a spot on the team. Klecker, a chemistry major, earned a 3.27 GPA. The women placed 5 members on the all-academic squad. Erin Clark is pursuing a master's in education and has a 4.0 GPA, while Sage Herta, a chemical and biological engineering major, also has a perfect GPA. Another chemical and biological engineering major, Caitlin Benner, has a 3.92 GPA and earned her 3rd straight USTF CCCA all-academic honor. Sophomore Mackenzie Caldwell was named to the team with 3.88 GPA in marketing. Sophomore McKenna Morley, an anthropology major, was the final member to be named to the team after earning a 3.51 GPA. In order to be eligible, athletes must earn a 3.25 GPA and have finished as an All-American in their regional meet.
The women's tennis team lost their first match of the season this past week. The Buffs fell to the Denver Pioneers 6-1 during play at the Colorado Athletic Club in Denver. 2 of the doubles teams dropped their matches and were unable to pick up the points for the team. CU entered singles play looking to rebound, but the struggles continued. Unfortunately for Colorado, 3 of the singles matchups ended with a Denver victory. The day wasn't a complete whitewash, though. Freshman Chloe Huell won the match, giving the Buffs their first and only win of the day.
After a tough loss the night before in Denver, the women's tennis team bounced back and won against New Mexico this past Sunday. The Buffs were once again on their own turf, and it showed, as the 3 pairs of doubles players dominated. After these wins, the singles only needed to pull off 3 more to take the win for the day. Senior Nuria Ormeño Ruiz came through with one of these wins. The standout of the night, though, was freshman Chloe Huell, who had the final win for the Buffs after a battle with New Mexico's Ruth Copas.
Stay with us for just one more break. I promise it will be worth it, because the answer to that super tough trivia question is right around the corner.
Cyrus, what are you doing?
I'm trying to look up the answer to this week's trivia question.
What are you talking about? It's time for rapid fire. Don't go anywhere. I'm Tessa, and I'll be back with rapid fire.
He seemed fine to me.
I thought he would just sleep it off.
I didn't think he was that bad.
I had no idea he was taking prescription drugs. He only drank as much as me.
I was fine.
We didn't want to get in trouble.
I thought this kind of thing happened all the time.
I thought someone else was taking care of him. If I would have called.
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 If I would have just called.
I'd still be alive.
Oh my God. What is she thinking? Her hair? Ew. No one likes you.
No wonder you don't have any friends.
You're so ugly and
Ew,
fat.
is she really wearing that? Wow. So she's so weird. Who wears that? That is so gross. Oh wow. Seriously?
This house was almost saved from a fire that was almost put out by neighbors who almost volunteered. As generous a nation as we are, sometimes instead of giving, we almost give. But almost giving is the same as not giving at all.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them. Beat them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad
One more
today.
time. Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys.
Okay, everyone, we know you have heard this one before, but we are serious this time. This is the fastest, hottest, most informative segment around. It's time for Rapid Fire. This week we have Sports Mag's Tessa Deitzel in studio for this most lit segment we have.
What's up, Buffs fans? I'm Tessa Deistel, and I'm here to bring you this week's edition of Rapid Fire. This week's rundown starts off on Friday with women's basketball. The Buffs travel to Stanford to take on the Cardinal for the second time this season. Their first matchup ended with a Buffs loss, even though CU had the lead at halftime. You don't want to miss this rematch, so make sure to tune into the Pac-12 Network at 9 p.m. Next up, we have women's tennis on Saturday. The 6-1 Buffs will face off against the 4-1 Utah State Aggies here in Boulder. Last time the teams played against each other was in 2000, and the match ended with a 9-0 victory by the Buffs. Saturday's match will definitely be one to watch. Moving on to Sunday, we have women's lacrosse playing 9th-ranked Northwestern for the season opener. The game starts at noon and will be at Kittredge Field. Come see these Buffs get their first season win. And don't forget about men's basketball. Coors Event Center is the place to be Sunday night at 6:30. Come watch the Buffs take on the Washington State Cougars. Well, that's all the time we have for this week's edition of Rapid Fire. I'm Tessa Deistel, back to you guys at the desk.
Now it's time for this week's Tweet of the Week. The Tweet of the Week comes to you from yours truly. While I must say that I have the best tweet every single week, our executive producer normally doesn't agree. This week she had no choice but to agree. The tweet reads, being told that Washington's Malik Dime got up from the bench, walked over to the Colorado student section, and then slapped a student. Dime actually connected with two students' faces. Neither plans to press charges. In fact, each was in pretty good spirits about the incident.
And now, Buff fans, it's time for the most highly anticipated Sports Mag event of the season. It's the answer to this week's trivia question. As a reminder, the question was, before last Friday's win, when was the last time the women's basketball team overcame a deficit of 14 or more points? Now we're going to give you a couple seconds just to think that over if you haven't already. 1, 2, 3, time's up. All right, here's your answer. The Buffs' last big comeback was on February 24th of 2014. The Buffs overcame a 20-point deficit against the Arizona Wildcats and won the exciting contest in overtime.
For CU Sports Mag, I'm Jake Shapiro. She's Christy Lampert. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.